This Week in Startups is brought to you by Braintree. 67% of online shopping carts are left abandoned, so there's a good chance that your checkout might be letting some customers slip by. To learn more about how Braintree can help with the checkout experience, visit braintreepayments.com/twist. And Walker Corporate Law, a boutique law firm specializing in the representation of entrepreneurs. Visit them at walkercorporatelaw.com. Today, it's Ask Jason at the Microsoft Global Startup Roadshow in the U.S. Jason gives product feedback and answers questions from founders and graduates of Microsoft Accelerator programs around the world, including Bangalore, London, Tel Aviv, and more.
Hi, my name is Scott Coleman, and I lead the Microsoft Accelerator program. And I am very pleased today that as part of our global roadshow with 15 of the best startups that we work with around the world, to be here in our office in San Francisco, participating in an Ask Jason session that will be on This Week in Startups. We couldn't be more excited to participate. We have a great group of companies, and Jason is one of our great partners. And so with that, Jason, all yours, take it away.
Okay, thanks for having me. So, I love doing these Ask Jason sessions with founders for a couple of reasons. One, our industry is very dynamic. It constantly changes. What was good advice just 2 or 3 years ago is the exact opposite. So if we were sitting here 3 or 4 years ago, putting off revenue, going for growth at all costs, raising tons of money, all would be great pieces of advice. But here we are. With the market, it's flattened out a little bit. People are a little concerned. Things got a little frothy. And expectations of investors, people joining companies, the market has radically changed. So it's very dynamic. I'm in a very unique position in that my job is to hear from founders like yourself, sometimes visionary, sometimes delusional, sometimes both, hopefully. And I get to hear how people think the world should change and how it should change for the better. Nobody's starting a company and saying, I want the world to change and I'd like it to devolve. I'd like things to be less joyful. I'd like them to be harder, less efficient. Entrepreneurs are always very frustrated with how inefficient and not smooth the world is. And they say, I just think the world should be a little bit better. And that's the beautiful thing about entrepreneurship. That's why I love working with entrepreneurs, and what an amazing position I have. Every week I meet with a dozen entrepreneurs. They tell me, this is why the world should be better. And then I have this amazing privilege of getting to ask them 10 follow-up questions. And as a result, I've gone from being the slow kid in the class to the person people like to ask questions of. Why? Information asymmetry. I get to ask the smartest, most driven people in the world why they're doing what they do. When they mention some acronym or something I don't know, I say, oh, I'm sorry, I do my best Columbo. Oh yeah, so one more thing there. I don't understand. What is that thing you're talking about with the sensors, the LiDAR? How does that LiDAR work? And then somebody who went to MIT explains to me how LiDAR works. You get smart fast. What a great job I have. It's awesome. So it's great to be here. I love the fact that Microsoft is so obsessed with startups right now, and they really are obsessed with it, I can tell you. They bought a little startup called LinkedIn yesterday. But it shows you they bought Sunrise. They bought Wunderlist, a great product. I was looking at the tray on my phone, which is not a Windows phone, it's an iOS phone. And it used to be 3 of my 4 top apps were Microsoft apps: Sunrise, Wunderlist, Outlook. 3 best of breed in their categories. And so Microsoft has really evolved, I think, in the last couple of years. And is really thinking about the world differently and adapting to the changes so radically and so fast. So it's really a pleasure to work with them, and they build great products across platforms. So thanks to Microsoft for being a great partner for us too. We're in it together. We both like to work with startups and help startups grow. So with that, my Emmy award-winning producer Jackie is going to bring people up, and we're going to try to have a dialogue about their startups. So big round of applause for Emmy award-winning producer Jackie. She's got 4 Emmys. She's always embarrassed when I say that.
And our first question is from David.
Come on up. Hey, I'm Jason.
Jason. David.
David, a pleasure.
Oh, using this one?
So, David, tell me about your mom. This is like therapy up here. Tell me about your childhood. Why does that mean? No, seriously, you have a question?
Yeah, I do. Is this on? Oh. All right. My question is, so I'm David. I'm CEO of Rally Team. Rally Team.
I think I know this.
Yeah. So my question for you is, as the CEO of a startup, what are the 2 to 3 mistakes you consistently see CEOs of startups make while they're trying to start and grow their business?
This is a great question. I'll give a plug for your company, Rally
Team.
What does Rally Team do?
So Rally Team tries to help enterprise companies be more agile and innovative. And we do that by connecting employees inside of the organization to projects, ideas, and teams.
Great. So the things that I think all entrepreneurs are different, right? So, and there's different types of leadership that can succeed. There are introverts, there are extroverts, right?
Yep.
And so you have introverted people who are very quiet. Evan Williams, known to sit back in a meeting. And then you have hard driving, Larry Ellisons of the world, Mark Cubans of the world, and everything in between. So you can't paint with one brush. People are different. And so I think the first thing is self-awareness and understanding your own state of mind as a leader. Which is to say, do you know if you're an introvert or an extrovert? Do you know where you get your energy from? Do you know your own strengths and weaknesses? And so are you a micromanager, and does that annoy you? Does that annoy your employees? Are you too hands-off and you don't give enough instructions or support? Are you not focused? And this is really, when you're an entrepreneur, you don't get, and the CEO of a company, it's a very isolated position. Because if you tell your team exactly how scared you are, exactly how messed up things are, and that at any point in time, the train could come off the rails and everybody loses their job, they're not going to want to come to work. They're going to be in a state of panic. But the truth is, all businesses are like that. Even the mighty Microsoft or the mighty Google or Apple, any of these big corporations, they're also could be disrupted at any moment in time.
Right.
And so you have to be a bit paranoid. But if you tell everybody how scared you are and how screwed up things are, they're going to quit. They're not going to want to come to work. Then you look at your investors. And if you tell them, like, I don't know if this business is going to work, or we've got serious competitors, or we've got these serious challenges, and the challenges always are greater, and the risks are always greater than the things are going well in a startup. So I think being level-headed, being able to stay focused, this is what I see the biggest mistake. You have some really good idea, and you say, hey, this is the idea. I want to make people more efficient. I want them to communicate more efficiently in an organization.
Yep.
And then you drift off mission. And mission drift and leadership drift and not being aware of yourself is the number one thing I see cause entrepreneurs, I think, to fail. Because if you can't stay focused on a singular goal, somebody else will. So if you don't figure out how to be relentlessly focused on transportation and you're up against Uber, you're going to be toast. If you're relentlessly focused on electric vehicles and you start thinking about other things, then Elon Musk is going to run over you, right? So that laser-like focus and understanding what your mission is and staying true to it, that's the thing I see in the winners, and it's what I conversely see the losers not do.
So I know you advise and you also invest.
Yeah.
Is there tactical advice you give your CEOs around, like, who it is an isolating position? So
yeah, I think
who can you talk to?
Yeah, I think you should curate your investors and you should lean on them. So raising money and just going for whoever can pay the most or based on valuation, always a mistake. What I like to do is I tell people, call the people the investor has invested in, and then tell the investor you're looking for somebody who can provide more than money. Money is freely available, but really good advice and time are not. So if you tell your investors coming in, listen, I'm going to take your $100,000, I'm going to take your $1 million, I'm going to take your $10,000, but that's not why I want you involved in the business. I understand that you have to have a stake in the business, and that's how equity structures work. But what I really want out of you, Cyan Bannister, Jason Calacanis, Kevin Rose, Gil Pinchina, whoever, Aileen Lee, what I really want is your time. So I'd like to have lunch with you once a month or coffee. I want to go over the business, and I want you to tell me candidly, how am I doing? And the more candid you could be with me, I like to use that word candid, not honest, because if you say honest, I want you to be honest with me, then you're insinuating that you haven't been honest with me to date. But if you say candid, it just means I know you're being honest, but I want you to be radically honest, radically candid. And that's actually from a really good book called Creativity, which is about, it's a great Audible selection for you. Creativity is from the guy one of the founders of Pixar.
Okay.
Really good book. So ask your investors to be candid with you. And big ears, small mouth when they're talking, right? So there's you self-select entrepreneurs who have a lot to say. And I've had to learn in my career to at times know when to stop talking and to just listen and listen and listen some more. And so when I'm in meetings with entrepreneurs, it's the opposite of the experience right now where you're asking me questions, I'm doing the other.
Yep.
I ask them, I am relentlessly trying to ask shorter questions and listen for longer in my meetings. So I would say to you, revenue?
Sorry?
Revenue?
What's our revenue? Right now we're pre-revenue.
I literally did it like a psychotherapist.
Yeah. Revenue?
I'm like, revenue.
Got it.
You were like, our amount of revenue? I want you to phrase the question.
Oh, okay.
I want to see how you phrase the question. What do you think why do you think I'm asking about revenue? Like, oh boy, now we know what your perspective is. So again, I think the people who explicitly ask for mentoring and coaching get it. The people who don't.
Got it.
So you got to really explicitly ask people who have invested in your company, please, can you just come spend a half day, meet the team, tell me what I'm doing. Self-awareness is super important. So I think meditation, mindfulness, turning off your devices, reading books, going for hikes. I know this sounds like kind of like maybe I've been in San Francisco and California too long as a Brooklyn boy.
No.
But I can tell you there's very little time to reflect in this world.
Yep.
And when you can have this time like we're having now and share it and reflect on what we do, you have possibilities open up. You have a little bit of breathing room. And everything we do is so reactive, right? Emails coming in, texts, tweets, messages, etc. You really need to have downtime where you go for a hike. Do a walk and talk. If you do a walk and talk with an investor every week, you're going to be a better CEO. You do a walk and talk with your employees. Walk and talk is what mobsters do so that they don't get, the feds have bugged the clubhouse. You go for a walk and talk.
Nice.
And they hold the newspaper over their face. It's called the walk and talk in Brooklyn. Just go for a walk and talk. You do a little walk and talk. We talk about some things. The package you were going to pick up for me. Did you drop it off with the guy with the thing?
Yeah.
Great, perfect. So just talk to the other guy about that thing and make sure he gets the other package.
Got it.
Pleasure to have met you.
Yeah, you as well.
Good luck with everything.
Yep, thank you.
Hey everybody, let's take a moment to thank our friends at Braintree. They have been a great supporter of This Week in Startups, and they are the simplest, easiest, and safest way to do payments. Today, I want to talk to you a little bit about checkout experience. That's when people are checking out of your website. And do you know that 67% of online shoppers abandon their shopping carts? They put stuff in it, and they don't actually check out and buy the products. Your checkout might actually be letting your customers slip away. And here's why. Your process may not be simple and clear, and you want it to be simple and clear. And you want the call to action when they're checking out to be concise and prominent. The fewer clicks, the better. And you want to let customers pay how they want, whether that's credit cards or debit cards or even these new forms of digital currency, and Braintree allows all of them. So the more options you give them, the more likely they are to check out. And of course, you want to reassure them about security. A lot of people get a little nervous still, even to this day, when they're checking out online, and you want to make sure you display those trusted icons throughout the process. Braintree is the payment platform that offers simple, secure checkout, and they accept every way you could possibly pay in 130 plus currencies. You can learn more by going to braintreepayments.com/twist, braintreepayments.com/twist, braintreepayments.com/TWIST/twist. It's a great product. A lot of my startups use it. In fact, every e-commerce startup I think I've ever invested in uses Braintree. It is state of the art. It's the best company for doing this. They constantly make the platform better. So go ahead and visit braintreepayments.com/twist. It's a total no-brainer. Okay, let's get back to this exciting episode.
Nice to meet you, Ravi. Where are you from?
I'm from India.
India.
CEO of iBot Control Systems.
Okay, iBot Control Systems.
Okay, so our story really began with 50 years of customer service, right? You buy appliances, something goes wrong.
Yep.
You call customer service and start complaining about it, and somebody will eventually attend to it. Whereas if you are under the weather, you're kind of calling a doctor and saying, I don't feel well.
Sure.
Our motivation was to bring in that kind of intelligence and awareness into machines.
Okay.
So what we started doing is we created a platform that helps manufacturers of all kinds of equipment appliances to put a brain in their machines.
Okay.
And the brain can then start going and sensing what's going on, if the machine's doing well or not. And if there is a problem, it'll just go and start reporting to you, the owner, as well as the manufacturer.
Got it. Right. So when things go wrong, it intelligently gives you information.
Correct.
It's a great idea.
And what we've been able to do with that is, see, IoT is a very large term, pretty confused these days.
Sure.
But the focus rather is on the thing in our business rather than the internet section of it, because we believe that the guys who make these things are finally the ones who are going to drive the business. So we're working with OEMs in every industry. We're saying, help us build connected products, because we may want to provide better service to our customers, or we may even want to change the way we monetize our business. So we have water systems companies who are saying we'll charge per liter or gallon of water that we produce rather than selling the machine itself.
Okay. So it's a good idea, obviously, because we've all had the frustration of having an appliance give an error code.
Exactly.
I think your pitch is a little bit weak.
Okay.
Am I down?
No, you're good.
I'm good now? Okay. So your pitch is a wee bit weak because your analogies are kind of kludgy. It's a very simple way to do it. Let me teach you a little pitching skill.
Nice.
Get the audience on your side.
Yeah.
Anybody here ever see an error code on their car or on a coffee machine or a stove or a dishwasher and not knowing what the error code was? Anybody ever see an error code on an appliance? Pretty annoying, right? You got to go look up what the error code is. Wouldn't it be great if when you got an error, it just sent you an email and told you what it was and how to fix it?
Exactly.
Well, that's what we do. We provide that software and that intelligence to people who make toasters and dishwashers who don't know how to use the internet.
True.
It's a better pitch. Yeah.
I'm going to pick it up.
So anyway, they recorded it, so you
No, of course.
But it's one of the things I have to say. Entrepreneurs are really bad at pitching their own startups because you're so in the weeds.
Yeah.
Right. So one of the great techniques I learned was, instead of you trying to pitch your idea, ask your customers to tell you what your product does.
Right.
And so Square did this. And if you go to Square's website for processing payments, it knows what city you're in. It picks a testimonial from that area. So if you're in Portland, it would pick the hipster Portland thing with the suspenders and the barista there, and they explain to you why they use Square.
Right.
And it turns out one of the people who gave a testimonial to Square early on just said, the machine is a lot smaller and it's not as ugly, and the fees are less. And when that woman said, the small business owner said, the fees are less, people believed her. But when they said they charged less, people didn't believe them.
Correct. It's a credibility issue.
So this idea to have your customers explain to you in plain English what you do. But I like your business a lot because it's enterprise, and you're going to know it's B2B to C.
Yeah.
You're going to know immediately if it works or not. Not necessarily from the consumers, but when you go to the business people and they say, yes, we need it, no, we don't. So if you're...
Right, absolutely.
Who's the biggest client you have right now? Do you have like a high-end Miele dishwasher company or someone like that who is using it?
So we've got some very large brands in India, OEMs who are using it. We're talking to some very large brands.
When I said Miele, the sort of elite, I think that's German, or I don't know what it is.
Exactly.
Do you have someone like that or no?
Like that, yes.
You do? Who?
Yes. So, Videocon in India, they're the largest consumer durables brand in the country. That's they're going across air conditioners, washing machines, refrigerators, all of them. We're talking to a laundry services company here in the United States for 500,000 washing machines.
Good.
It's business that is creating a lot of traction for us.
It turns out the service revenue is a big ongoing piece.
Correct.
And I think that, the Maytag repair person was always commercials about that. I think there is an opportunity for, if the person's requests are going back to the manufacturer, the manufacturer can then take those leads and send them for $10 each.
I agree.
To their
guys.
service people.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a solid business.
Wonderful.
Good luck with it. Keep working on it.
So, my question...
Oh, there is a question. I thought you wanted feedback. Okay.
So my question would have been, how do you look at the business? But you answered most of that already.
It's a really easy business for any investor to look at and understand, which is...
Wonderful.
just go talk to your top 3 or 4 customers and say, how is the integration going?
Right.
How many units do you deploy? How does this make economic sense to you?
Right.
So what's great about your business is it's not that expensive to run. You probably need 10, 20 people who are all
We're a
technical.
22 people company, yeah.
You just need 10, 20 people to build the core software.
Yep.
And then you just need these enterprise salespeople to go and take people to play golf or to expensive, cricket matches and get good tickets and then close $1 million deals. So
Wonderful.
get out of here and close some $1 million deals.
That's what I'm hoping. Thank you very much for your time.
Go get them.
Thank you.
Very interesting business.
Thank you.
Hey everybody, let's take a moment to thank my friend Scott Walker from the Walker Corporate Law Group. They are a boutique law firm specializing in the representation of entrepreneurs and startups. And they encourage fixed fees. They believe that billable hours reward inefficiency, so they will give you a fixed fee to form your companies, do merger and acquisitions, licensing agreements, terms of service, privacy policies, all that important stuff that you need to get dialed in perfectly for your startup. And their lawyers have 10 to 20 years of experience each. No junior associates getting on the job training with your startup. No, they're all pros over there. And if you want to talk to the founder, Scott Walker, you can call him directly, 415-979-9998. 415, that's the area code here in San Francisco, 979-9998. Or you can email Scott at walkercorporatelaw.com, Scott at walkercorporatelaw.com, or visit walkercorporatelaw.com. Again, call him 415-979-9998. He is a great guy. He's been around for years, coming to all of our events and supporting everything we do, and he is a real mensch, a great attorney, and he's got a great team over there. A lot of my startups use the Walker Corporate Law Group and have had a great experience. Go ahead and follow at Scott Ed Walker on Twitter too. He loves to get new followers, and it's awesome when you guys thank the partners for supporting independent media like This Week in Startups. Okay, let's get back to this program. Okay, hey, I'm Jason.
Jason, hi, Alistair.
Alistair, a pleasure.
Alistair Eason from Isha.
Right next to your mouse.
By that?
Yeah, it's on. Just talk right into the microphone.
Hi, Jason. Alistair Eason from Isha. My question is...
Where are you from?
Isha.
Oh, eShare.
Isha.
I was like, I've never heard of this country, eShare. Like, it sounds like it's somewhere like North Africa or something. eShare. eShare. Got it.
eShare in England.
Got it.
What single most important factor do you see in startups that indicate that they'll be successful?
What single feature do I look for in startups to show that they'll be successful? I have 2 things I really look at. First, I try to look in the eyes of the founder and understand if they want to win. This is something that comes from years of being a journalist and a high-stakes poker player. I can tell if people are lying to me. I can tell if they're driven. I can see the sadness. I can just see right through them. I look right in their eyes.
What do you see, Jason? I don't want to know.
We're going to go there we'll go there in a minute. We'll go there in a minute. Okay, we'll go there in a minute. Second, execution. And execution on every detail. Because I feel that my experience has told me, my signaling has told me, that if people cut corners, or if people execute at a high level on details that I can see now, their behavior will be similar in the future. In other words, if we were going to hire you as a chef, and we had 2 people who are chefs, if I see that you can make a great hamburger, and you have a craft to it, or even a better example might be you can make a great omelet. And I say, wow, look at that omelet, that's pretty amazing. The technique is there. They used the specific grass-fed butter from Ireland. They knew exactly, which pan to use. They had the heat at the right setting. They just knew the details. It was dialed in to make that omelet. And the omelet is 4 eggs, and they cost 50 cents each, so it's $2. I can feel, and then somebody else just throws a bunch of eggs in a pan and gives them to me. And I can look at those techniques, just of making eggs. I can know who to give the Wagyu beef to, because I know who's going to take care when I give them the $100 in a pound of meat, or $500 a pound of meat. And so I look for craftsmanship. And you can see craftsmanship in how people present their ideas. You can see it in how they write emails, how they interact, how they answer questions. That's why in my incubator, we focus a lot on how you present your idea and how you answer questions, and then also what you're focused on, like what growth techniques and how you're executing on your business. Because when you start thinking about ideas and you start thinking about markets, which is another thing you could focus on, and I have focused on in the past, I passed on investing in a lot of big companies because I didn't think the market was there or I didn't like the idea. And then I realized, gosh, none of us know. None of us know what ideas are going to work. None of us know what markets are going to appear. We may have ideas, we may have educated guesses, but the truth is, the concept of Uber at the beginning was a way to get a Lincoln Town car faster, a car service. They didn't have ride sharing necessarily in mind. I mean, they were ambitious, but they didn't have that, and they certainly didn't have Uber Pool in mind, nor a transportation API. So as time has gone on, those things have been added to the vision, but if they had pitched me Uber Pool as the idea, my feeble, flawed human brain would have said, wait, I'm going to share a cab with people and you're going to be able to get somebody as I'm going to the airport and happen to pick them up on the way there? That's the most annoying, insane thing I've ever heard. But after you use Uber Lincoln Town cars and then you use Uber ride sharing and you're in a Prius and it's in somebody's normal car, then you sort of Uber Pool had warmed you up to that idea. And so the investors who try to predict the future are always going to fail. Entrepreneurs create the future. There's no prediction involved. There's force of will. And so I look for the people who have that force of will and who execute on a high level. Now, back to yourself. I see somebody who I suspect is a bit of a salty dog who has worked hard for a long time and who maybe hasn't hit the home run that they know they're capable of and is pushing really hard to hit greatness. And it would be very meaningful for that person to become great for their family and for their team. I feel like just by looking at you and looking in your eyes, that you probably had blue-collar parents and that your success, even today, is probably very impressive to them if they're still alive. And that winning with your team and having success is very meaningful to you. Now you could ask me how I came to this conclusion, but that's what I think. How close did I come?
Your parents are farmers, so I don't know whether you call that blue collar. But
that's as blue collar, salt of the earth as they get.
They'd be very proud of me. But I think I've been successful, but where I'm aiming is a lot higher. We've never taken funding and we have a profitable business,
right,
and a valuable business, but our business is around meeting management. But we think that meetings are broken in the whole world, and we want to be the meeting management solution for the whole world, and that's the aiming high bit, and I will do what it takes to get there.
So, blue-collar parents, resilient, and really want to win.
Definitely.
So I nailed it on all three.
Yeah, well done.
And I could tell you how I know that. Would you like to know?
I would like to know, yeah.
You've made eye contact with me the whole time. So you clearly have no fear of talking to people, even if they're important. People think I'm important. I don't know that I'm important, but I am important now by the fact that people perceive me as important because I write checks. So you're fearless in your ability to look me in the eye and ask me the question. So I sense that you have great leadership ability and that you understand people, you're an extrovert. And I'm looking at your body language and you seem like a bulldog. Like somebody who is not going to give up. I see it in body language. Certainly the way you walked up. And I see the details. Your jeans have been, they were cut to be that length, I believe, and hemmed so that they fall on the shoes like that. And those are shoes that are classics that matter to people. And you also, the cut of the jacket is perfect. The haircut is every 6 to 8 weeks. You don't miss it probably. You take care of your body, you work out. The watch is polished, it's not dirty. You have attention to detail in your life. You pick those jeans because of the piping probably on them. The stitching is part of the design of them. Am I close?
Not the stitching, but the rest of it was right.
Okay. The piping on the jeans is unique, and it's not like my jeans, which don't have the piping. And so I just thought,
And the shop supplies jeans, and that's where I go.
you got a place that supplies jeans. So anyway, the man has considered where he gets his jeans. It's not inconsequential that these specific jeans were on you. You didn't just order the same jeans from when you were 6 years old, and the shoes are classics. So you're trying to explain to the world that you're portraying to the world that these are classic shoes, something there. So anyway, and the haircut every 6 to 8 weeks, clockwork, same every 4 weeks, same place for the past 10 years.
No.
You got a new place?
My wife told me off last time I went for a haircut.
Okay, all right.
I had it too short and they butchered me. So,
Okay.
So I think the haircut was quite cheap. But
Is it cheap? It's tight though. You do it every 4 weeks. So anyway, you kind of get the sense of a person, and I'm not always perfect in reading people, but I've been scarily accurate. And I've done it my whole career. Just being able to read people, just understanding. When I met Jackie, my producer of the podcast, I could tell that she really had an attention to detail because she had watched so many episodes of the show, and she had actually a perspective on things. It was easy hire. So that's something, the attention to detail, and that's something for you to understand, that the really great investors, they get to pick who they work with. Right? I have almost perfect access to deals because I'm arguably one of the top 3 angel investors right now. Most of them, what happens with angel investors, they get successful and they retire. So, or they become big VCs. So when you have a lot of deal flow, you're actually picking, in a way, not just the business, the startup, you're actually picking the person and who you want to call you on a Saturday or Sunday, right? I really do not want to be in business with people who I don't think are going to do it right or take it serious. To me, that's a big pet peeve. And I know for other investors, we take the business seriously. We're deploying other people's money. We're deploying our own money. There's a lot at stake in a way, and you want people who are serious. So one of the things I think that you'll send out to the world is that you're serious about it, that you care, right?
I hope so.
The sense of entitlement in this city today is appalling in many cases. People don't send updates to their investors. They want to have super voting shares for the founders and not have proper governance or a board or have to answer to anybody. It doesn't feel like partnership sometimes. And this happens. The market gets really hot and all the power accrues to the founders who have many people throwing money at them. Then the market retreats and the power accrues to the investors who have a bunch of desperate founders. I'm always looking to just sort of keep it right in that middle zone where it's mutual respect, and everybody's acting with a decorum and a focus and principles, right? And many investors are like that. They've been in it 20 years. So when you're thinking about getting your A round, remember, they're assessing you as an individual. Do they want to be on a 10-year journey with you or not? Is it going to be enjoyable for them? The board meeting is going to be productive because they're probably, in all likelihood, rich. They don't need to work anymore. So there's a very important thing I learned at a certain point when I had Sequoia as an investor. I was like, oh, they're in business with me. Why are these people even coming to work anymore? They have jets in some cases, or they have homes in far off places. Why do they still go to work? Oh, they want to win. Well, they want to win, and they want to do it a certain way. They want to do it the right way. It's a very important thing for you to understand as entrepreneurs of how these investors assess you. Now, I don't do it solely. If you were wearing flip-flops and you were wearing the same pair of jeans the last 3 times I saw you, but the product was perfect, I'd say, oh, this is one of those people who can't be bothered with wearing the right shoes, but my God, look at how they put it into the product. I get it, right? So it's not a single, you have to assess the entire situation, right? Like being a detective or a journalist or a poker player. Okay, good luck to you.
Thank you, Jason.
Your parents are already super proud. You made it off the farm. You're an entrepreneur. Farming, very entrepreneurial, in fact. Every year they have to do a new startup. It's called a crop. And some years the crops go bad, right? It's like a failed startup and it's brutal. Hi, I'm Jason.
Hi, I'm George.
George.
Yep, Georgina.
Oh, Georgina. And where are you from, Georgina?
I'm from London, and I'm CEO and founder of a company called True Rating.
Brilliant. See that?
Shall I tell you what we do before I get into my
well,
question?
as a great entrepreneur, anytime you say the name of your business, you should have 4 words to describe it. So I'll give you 4 words. 3, 2, go.
Customer insight at the point of payment.
7, try again.
Customer insight at POS.
At pause. Customer
Can I use an
insight for
acronym?
retailers.
Yeah, but we go wider than the retail vertical.
Okay. Customer insights for businesses.
Yeah, all right, we'll do that.
There you go.
I guess that's not our USP, because the USP is the fact that we're on the payment terminal where nobody else really is in that space.
Now you're in the weeds.
So that's what I was trying to get.
Yeah, you're in the weeds now.
So shall
Anyway,
I...
pretty good. Keep
Shall
going.
I give you a bit more insight as to what we do? So on that
Yeah, sure.
payment terminal, we just ask one question about an aspect of your experience. So it could be, please rate the service from 0 to 9, or it could be, please rate the product from 0 to 9. 1 second, and then you go through to
Did
pay.
you say 0 to 9? 0 to 9. Is that 0 to 9?
From London, where I'm from, it's 0 to 9.
0 to 9.
0 to 9.
You don't do a 10.
No.
Nobody gets a 10 ever. What?
Because 10 requires 2-digit presses, doesn't it? And so that you need,
I like that. I learned
need 1
something. 0 to
second.
9. I always tell this to my team. Never be afraid to ask when you don't know somebody. Did anybody here ever hear 0 to 9 before? Who heard 0 to 9? Really? So half of us are. Oh, yesterday you heard. Aside from yesterday, how many people heard 0 to 9? So basically 2/3 of us never heard that. That's interesting. Okay, we all learned something today. So 0 to 9, right? Which is sort of like the NPS score,
Yeah,
Net Promoter Score.
yeah, indeed.
How likely are you to recommend our product
Yeah.
to one of your friends?
So that's one of our questions. But we ask a set of questions which rotate, and that feeds a merchant analytics dashboard for the merchant, as you'd expect, but also a consumer website. So like Yelp or TripAdvisor, but everyone is validated customers, and we operate at 88% of engagement rate, so it's far more representative. So you get out in Palo Alto and you say, what's the best Mexican for atmosphere and value? And within 1 second, you've got validated ratings from hundreds and thousands of customers. So my question to you is, we have offices in Sydney, London, Atlanta, and Toronto, but there's nobody like us in the world. And we're continually getting requests from payment partners who want our software to push out into their markets, from international merchants who want us to get us their software. And I had a discussion with a guy from the US who used to work for a VC, and I was telling him all about, shall we move into Latin America? Shall we move into the Nordics? And he said, in the US, especially if you're going to be looking at a US exit, pour every dollar you have back into success in US and don't go any further into any other global markets. And he said that the guys on Wall Street and American companies will just, they'll see if you're in, say, if you're in countries like, which are further afield, like whether it's Brazil or India, etc. They just think that wide expansion, and for a company of our, they just think it's better to focus on the US. So I was wondering what your opinion would be.
You always need to consider the source. You always need to consider the source of the advice.
Yeah.
So I listened to who you said this. This is a person who used to work for a VC.
Yeah.
So maybe they don't work for the VC for a reason. Maybe they're not a VC for a reason. It's a horrible advice. The world is getting smaller and smaller, and the US companies are looking for growth overseas. The companies here in the US that are doing fantastic make more money overseas than they do here in the United States. They have more cash overseas than they have here in the United States. So if you were to look at all the major tech companies, they all make more money outside the United States than in it.
Okay.
So this is the worst advice ever given to any founder, which is a good lesson for you, which is don't listen to any single piece of advice. You always should get feedback from a number of people who have done it before, and always consider the source. So a better source of information for you would be to talk to MailChimp or Wistia or Square or somebody, or just study what they've done.
Yeah.
And if you look at those companies, those are software as a service companies, SurveyMonkey comes to mind as well, and have they translated their service? Do they have landing pages? Do they buy ads on Google AdSense in other countries? Do they buy it on Bing? Plug for Microsoft. Do they spend on advertising in these other places? If so, if they're spending money in other places, there must be a market for it. So for you, I would look at the other payment companies. I know that a lot of the payment companies, Braintree, Square, they are going global. They do see this as a very valid idea. So, and you're charging for your product. It's not a free product. It's you pay for it.
Well, there's a freemium for the SMEs, and then it's SaaS for the big guys.
So there is, when you charge for a product, you have the perfect opportunity to get data, just like you're providing data for them, which is you put up a landing page, you buy 1,000 clicks, and you see in that one translated landing page what the response is.
Yeah.
And so everybody's got an opinion, everybody's got ideas. Great entrepreneurs build tests to get data, to build strategies, and then they build plans based on the data and the tests.
Yeah.
So in all things, build a test. And that will give you a truer answer than anybody's opinion. I frequently have entrepreneurs come to me and ask me my opinion on something, and I stop for a second. I say, well, let's start with the data. And they say, we don't have data. I say, okay, what is the quickest, easiest way for us to get data? Right? And if we quickly get data, the whole conversation moves from emotional, charged, to just logical. Like, so as a leader, I remember 20 years ago, everything was very much like the founder was a god king, right? Or queen in this case. And you'd be like, Zeus and Athena come down from heaven and say this is the way things should be. It's not like that anymore. It's more democratic, and it's more scientific even more than democratic, because you really don't want everybody in the company voting, because then you just have a group of 10 gods on Mount Olympus voting. It's not the best way to run a business. The best way is to take the emotion out of it. And what I try to do to people is just challenge them for who can come up with the most efficient test. So what is the most efficient way for us to pick the next topic for, I'm doing these inside.com newsletters. So we did Inside Tesla. I said, what's the best next newsletter for us to do? And well, how do we test for that? And we had a bunch of back and forth. And I said, what if we asked our audience to tell us? It was like, okay, that's pretty good. And then I was like, what if we created a form that looked like, or one of my people said, why don't we create a form that looks like Kickstarter? And on the page, people put their email address in and vote on what they want. And then whichever one hits the tipping point first, we publish. And then we would have already collected the emails. And I just thought, thank the Lord, I don't have to answer the question and come up with the great idea. Austin came up with the great idea, and it's a much better idea than I was thinking of. I didn't have enough coffee that day or whatever. And I was like, this is brilliant. The vote equals a customer. So in your case, you could say, you build this landing page, you translate, to 10 different languages, the landing page, you run the test, and you say, put your email in if you'd like to join the beta of this.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? Now the sales department, whichever one, gets the biggest response, or this one got 200 out of 1,000 people, 20% responded. Guess what? We have 200 hot leads.
Yeah.
Right?
The business case.
Yeah, you got the business case, and you have the Glengarry Glen Ross leads. You ever see that film?
No.
There's your homework. Who's seen Glengarry Glen Ross? Oh my God. That's just sometimes people haven't seen one of the classic movies of all time. It's a global group, that's why. Just everybody, make a note. See Glengarry Glen Ross this weekend, please, and then email me, jason@launch.co. Tell me what you thought about it. You can thank me later. It's a great, great film. It's important in terms of sales, but it's a great idea because businesses need feedback, right? And so ignore people who, a lot of times too, one of the things I find is the people who are most willing to give their opinions have the least to offer. I hope you're enjoying this episode of Ask Jason. What's our next question? It's a pleasure to have met you.
Thank you.
Good luck. All right, so here we go. We're going to see Steph Curry.
Cool.
Drain 3 after 3. Hi, I'm Jason.
Daniel. Nice to
Daniel,
meet you.
a pleasure. I hear an accent.
Good.
Let me see.
Israel.
I was going to guess.
Yeah, my Middle Eastern accent is there.
Absolutely. Okay. Clearly you're from Atlanta, Georgia.
Exactly.
No, you're from Israel.
Yeah.
Welcome.
So thank you very much. Thanks for having us. So I'm from WSC Sports Technologies, and we created a platform that can automatically and in real time create personalized and customized sports videos for every fan.
Great.
Basically, we work with leagues, sports broadcasters, publisher, and whoever has sports content to help them reach their fans better, engage them, and monetize that content.
Got it. So you make supercuts of specific athletes or plays. So if I said to you, I would like to see Steph Curry's 400 three-pointers, you could automatically make me a video of that.
Perfect.
Or if I said, I want to see Steph Curry's three-pointers that are over 5 feet behind the line and that are made and that have him being double-teamed, you could make me that.
So it depends, but basically, yeah, the way it goes is that we run through the video, and using video analysis, audio analysis, and data, we basically map the entire competition, 1 game and 1,000 games. And once everything is mapped, we go and build implementations on top of that. So,
can you make me a video of LeBron James arguing and crying to the refs, which is also known as anytime a ref calls a foul against the Cavaliers?
It's going to be too long of a video. That's the problem.
You may need to have a little bit more server capacity. Even Microsoft's mighty Azure cloud platform, I don't think could actually process all the times LeBron has cried to the refs.
Actually, our system is using 100% Microsoft Azure, and it's going well, and the load is amazing.
Doing well.
And like funny comment you had, but Dan Gilbert is an investor in our company, so we're Cavs fans at the moment, and we're super happy from the game yesterday.
Yeah. All right, next question. It's a great idea.
I can demo it to you exactly like you've asked to, so I think that will be the best way to go. So
demo it, sure.
Let's go.
And then you have a question?
No, I'm just demoing.
Just demo. Okay,
I'm
demo.
just demoing.
Okay, good. Let's see. This is LeBron. I'm taking you off stage here. We're unplugging them. Better not be LeBron.
So basically, the way it works is that's a system, for example,
your audience.
The NBA is using to create tens of thousands of video assets.
The NBA is using it.
Yeah, NBA is a big customer. 50% of NBA content worldwide is being produced by our system today.
Great.
And the way it works, you can just log in, ask the system to create a video. It asks you what's the topic.
Oh my God, this is incredible.
I can ask for a player, and then I'll still go with LeBron because I know who my team is right now. And then I can also say I want to go with Kyrie because both of them were amazing. And then the system would ask what will be the output, general highlights.
Terrible demo so far. Keep going.
Then what is the time period? How long will the video be? If it will have bugs, whatever I want, and when where the video will be published to when it's ready. And if they'll have an intro, outro, whatever. If I'll click on create video, in the background, the video is going to render the video and actually create it. But I've prepared it in hand so you can see how it looks like. So basically, I'll just hit the play button. And
I was there last night. And
I was as well. So you can see the video is being created.
We'll just move forward, but he says it's hurt us, and he knows that. But the team would love nothing more than to clinch without him here tonight. And Joe, as Irving makes it damn.
So basically, the NBA has used it. They're creating 80,000 videos per year using that. Before that, they've created about 5,000. So it really enables them to have everything really customized and personalized and fan engaging. That's it.
It's a killer idea. I think, video is one of those things that's highly monetizable, and consumers can't get enough of it. And it does cost a lot of money to produce them. So if you were going to make those clips, it would cost you half an hour each time somebody made them, probably another half hour to tag them and upload them to the different services. So you could upload to 20 services or 200 at once. So that workflow, I think, would represent an hour per clip, which would be $50 a clip or something like that.
Exactly.
And you would need to have an army of 1,000 people to do as many clips as you could do automatically. So this is going to get really interesting. What would be even more interesting is if in the NBA League Pass next year, which they charge direct to consumers about $200 a year for, they need to make this as part of the NBA League Pass. Have you talked to them about making this part of the offering?
So what we'll be discussing with them basically is now we want to do it direct to consumer maybe. So we just launched it now for the playoffs for the Facebook chatbot. So fans can go and ask for this. So it's been launched and we're learning, like you said, A/B testing, we're learning a lot.
You have to convince the NBA to take this and put it in the hands of fans. And when they hit publish, it automatically publishes to the NBA's, like NBA super fans on their YouTube, on all these other services. And what you'll find is the fans will create things that you or the NBA could never think of.
I agree.
So the street finds its own use for technology. And you're, even as great as this platform is, you got to get it in the hands of everybody. And what's great about it is you could just let them publish it to Twitter too, because Twitter has the ability to tag all these and give the revenue to the NBA. So the NBA allowing people to do this and publish it to their own Twitter handles and putting an ad in front of it would mean somebody like me could make one of like, here's every LeBron James turnover from the previous game, which is the deciding factor because LeBron just consistently turned the ball over. That's why they're down 3-2, have maybe a 5 or 6% chance of winning both of the next 2.
Yeah, seems like that.
Okay.
But we'll see.
I commend you. It's very good.
Thank you very
and what's
much.
the name of the company again?
WSC Sports Technologies.
Okay. One of the things that I've learned over the years working with Israeli companies, amazing technology, passionate founders, terrible at branding.
Yeah.
There's got to be a better name for this.
Think so?
Tell me what the name of the company is?
Reality.
No, his company.
That's my
No.
company now.
Tell him what the name of his company is.
WSC.
Yeah.
Nobody knows. Nobody knows. Nobody here can remember the name of your company. They can remember Rally Team. So come up with some better, punchier name. One word from the English language dictionary.
Cool.
That's it.
Okay.
That's it. Mix.
Okay.
Sports mix. Something. Pick 2 words from the dictionary, put them together. What happens, I think, is sometimes the Israeli companies try to find the domain name, the .com, and then work backwards and then call it the company.
Okay.
You don't need to do that anymore. Don't worry about your .com. Get a .co, get a whatever. Doesn't matter. Come up with a better name. But it's incredible technology. I think it's
Thank you
very,
very
very
much.
powerful. Okay,
Appreciate it.
well done.
Thank you.
Good job. Very impressive. Testin.
Yes.
Testin. 2 English language words, Testin. The name of your company is Testin. What's the name of the last company that was on stage?
Okay, actually,
What was the name?
I'm
asking
sorry.
you,
Wait, hello,
Wang.
hello.
Stay with me.
I'm Wang Jun from China.
I know. I want to ask you a question. Slow down. What's the name of the last company that was on stage?
So
The last company is sitting in the chair from Israel. What was the name of their company?
I'm so sorry.
Do you remember the name?
A little patient for jet flight. Okay, so I'm from Testin, Wang Jun.
What was the name of the company that was sitting here before? Do you know?
Testin.
No, your company's Testin. Okay, anyway, let's move on.
Okay, sorry. I don't remember.
Okay, you don't remember. That's the right answer.
Yeah,
I'm just trying to make I am beating a dead horse. I'm belaboring the point because the Israeli guy is sort of like, Jason may or may not know what he's talking about. And now I think I've proven my point. It's like 3 people don't know the name of your company. I don't know the name of your company. Jackie doesn't know the name of your company.
Even me.
I'm just not. But Testin, we all know the name of this company. Testin. It's 2 English language words. Testin. Testin. I wonder if your company has something to do with testing.
So actually the name is from the LinkedIn. So Testin. So Testin is actually the largest mobile app focused mobile quality assurance platform.
Got it.
4 words. Okay.
Quality assurance, mobile app quality assurance. I get it. Make sure your app is not buggy and crashing.
Yes, you got it.
I got it.
So actually my question is Azure portfolio just like Uber.
Yeah.
They got a fantastic, awesome figures in China market.
Yep.
And as our test result, they also have some, challenge and a big challenge with competitions, right?
Yeah, they have competition.
So, as your opinions, how's your opinions for China B2C market? Is there similar like application developers? They can make some strategy as your. Do you have some specific strategy for China market B2C? I mean.
Yeah. So I was on CNBC earlier today talking about Alibaba and the Chinese market. The Chinese market is very unique. You're from Hong Kong or China or Taiwan?
I'm from Beijing. And
From Beijing.
By the way, could you say hi for your Chinese fans, even in the late night?
Oh, right there.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, super fans from China.
Your friends.
Yes. Okay. So listen, China is an amazing market filled with great entrepreneurs, but China as a country is very recently turned into a democracy, or I should say that it's very recently embraced a capitalistic markets, but it's not yet a democracy. So it's not a democracy; it's its own unique political structure. Correct?
Yes.
So I'm just saying that in a very even-handed way. So it's its own unique,
It's a proprietary, right?
It's a proprietary platform, China. It has its own unique aspects. Now they've added capitalism to it. When you're 40 years old, 30 years old, how old are you?
It's 40 something.
You're 40 something. So 30 years ago, when you were 10 years old,
Oh yeah.
did you ever think you could be an entrepreneur, that you could start your own business?
No.
And travel the world?
No.
So this change is very recent.
Yes.
In your lifetime, you saw Tiananmen Square protests, and then you see now entrepreneurship and Alibaba and companies going public from China in the public market here, correct?
Yes.
So it is very new. And so the fact that the Chinese government has opened things up and that capitalism is working is great. It's a very good start. But I think that for American companies to succeed there, they need to have local partners who can sort of help them navigate this unique proprietary platform.
Yes.
And so it is challenging. Google, as an example of a company, and Facebook have decided, in one case they decided to not operate there, Google, and in another case Facebook has not yet been allowed to operate there, right?
As we know, Facebook is there doing something to enter China market.
They're trying to.
Yes.
They're attempting to get in the China market. Yes. And you have other companies, Starbucks, Uber, McDonald's.
But Uber's there, right?
Yeah, a lot of them are there.
Awesome figures.
Yeah. So
even myself invest for Uber maybe 1,000 per month.
Yeah.
For me.
Good. Thank you. So I think it's a very good sign for the world that China has opened up the platform and that the United States and China have become such great partners. It's not for the US to tell China how to do it. Yeah. China has to do it on their own time frame, and they have to do it philosophically as they see fit. So what that means is there's going to be many times where American companies and America and China don't agree, but it's very encouraging that there's more that we agree on now than ever in history. And I can tell you 30 years ago, when we were both 10 years old, in 1980 maybe, I never thought we would be where we are now. And you never thought that you would be here. So the fact that the two of us are sitting here discussing business in China, between American companies and Chinese citizens doing business in America, it means the world is getting so much better, so much deeper understanding, and so much more interdependencies, which means the world will function better. So I am very much in favor of engagement. I used to think maybe, we had to hold the line and demand that other countries, catch up to us in terms of, where our democracy is at. I actually think now I'm watching history. I was wrong. Engaging with these countries, even though it can be difficult at times, has made much more progress. And I think it's an interesting lesson for all of us when we look at countries like North Korea, when we look at countries like Iran, we look at countries like Cuba, Venezuela, Russia. The more engaged we can be with these countries that are maybe even further outside of the international interdependencies, the better. So North Korea is a perfect example. They've isolated themselves, and maybe in 30 years we'll be sitting here, we'll be 70 years old, and I'll be talking, you and I will be here talking to some 30-year-old entrepreneur from North Korea, and they have some idea of how to make the world better. Right now there's a lot of entrepreneurs in North Korea or in Iran or Venezuela or Cuba maybe, and they have great ideas. I know in Cuba we're normalizing relations. So a more interdependent world where entrepreneurs can work with each other actually does promote social change. So I applaud the Chinese government for being very open to companies working together. I mean, you have customers outside of China, I take it.
Yes, it's about 10% outside of China.
Right, yeah. And eventually you'll have as many customers outside of China as you do inside of China.
Yes.
That's beautiful. That's a beautiful thing. So I think for American companies, it's getting easier and easier to operate in China. Every year will be easier. I think in 10 or 20 years, it's going to be a very free-flowing market, especially if we pick the right president this year for the United States.
Oh, we are looking for that.
Yeah. We're all hoping that we don't go backwards to isolation. So I don't want to make comments on any specific presidential candidate, but what I will say is you have to look at ideas. And we have to decide as a community which ideas, which policies we want in the world. The policy of working together and having people be able to freely travel between countries and work together and collaborate and communicate has, sure, there's some problems now and again with immigration, and terrorism's a horrible thing, but net, the openness of the planet and countries working together has really helped humanity in a major way. And so we don't want to go backwards on that. We want to go forward on that. And I think that's where our technology industry needs to speak up a little bit more. We need to be addressing this idea that we're going to build walls and not let people in here or fight with China and try to beat China. We don't need to beat China. We need to win with China. Our country.
Just make money.
And China needs to win with the United States. I mean, the interdependencies, if we stop making iPhones in China, how many people would be out of work?
Well, it's huge.
It would be a huge, horrible calamity there.
Yes.
And it would be horrible for our country here because Apple would have to do layoffs as well. The fact that countries can, specialize in different type of work at different times. I mean, even China is now outsourcing some factories to other countries, correct?
Correct.
So they're outsourcing to which countries? Vietnam?
Exclusive Vietnam and South Asia.
All over Asia, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, I think there's going to be huge opportunities, and I love the fact that, here we are at Microsoft in the United States, and we have an entrepreneur from Beijing who is building products that people in America can use. The world is just getting so much better. So I applaud you for it, and I hope that our countries continue to work deeply together and that we don't build walls because, God, it's going so well right now.
So do you recommend some venture capital from the United States have a specific strategy for China?
Yeah, well, Sequoia opened an office there, Sequoia Capital, so they've done very well.
Beijing?
I don't know if it's in Beijing. I'm not sure which country it's in. I think it's in Shanghai. So I think, there's enough rich people in China to fund the companies there and they understand them better.
Yeah.
So just like I might say to a Chinese venture capitalist who was coming here, they need to have a local partner here to understand what's going on. Sure. I think for, American venture capitalists to go over there, they're going to need to have a deeper understanding. And a lot of American venture capital firms like Sequoia are in India and China. Europe's a little bit different. That's a region where things are kind of going backwards. There's more regulation, businesses move slower. So a lot of venture capitalists don't want to go there because of the regulation, and it's kind of anti-entrepreneurial.
But for investment, it's okay.
Not really.
Okay.
Europe is very tough to invest in because it's so anti-entrepreneur, or by contrast, America and other regions are so pro-entrepreneur. That distance means the businesses operating there have a harder time getting big, and they have a harder time getting bigger faster, because in some countries in Europe, you have to put down an entire year's salary, and the founder has to be personally responsible. Well, if you're personally responsible for the salary of all of your employees for the next 5 years or 2 years or 18 months or whatever it is, you're not going to create a risky business because you could bankrupt your family, and then what do? Your kids are going to be, not be able to go to school, or you're not going to have a roof over their head. Here in the United States, if you build a business and it doesn't work out, you don't have to give your house up or, So socialism, which we see, the European version of socialism in many countries there, is very destructive to entrepreneurship. And so Europe has decided, in most instances, to go more socialist and more protections for individuals, which then makes the fluidity of entrepreneurship harder. And so that's a societal decision, and we have people here in America, without mentioning specific candidates, but there's one candidate here, trying not to be too political here, because everybody thinks they know who I'm voting for. I'm doing a write-in vote. A lot of people here want to have the social programs of, say, the Scandinavian countries, Norway, Sweden, Denmark, and those programs have worked well in very small countries over there. It would be very hard to implement here. And we would lose our ability to have entrepreneurship work the way it does in this country. We would not have the Ubers, Airbnbs, Twitters, Facebooks, Googles. If we deployed that kind of socialism, we would have a much more throttled version of entrepreneurship. People would be willing to open up small design studios. They would be willing to open up cafes, but they wouldn't be willing to swing for the fences. So you pick your poison, and I think people who want that type of lifestyle should move to Europe and be in a slow growth environment where people pay 60% taxes or 50% taxes and get to take, a year or two off if they have a baby, and everybody gets health care, and maybe even minimum income will happen in Europe first. So it's going to be a very interesting next 30 years, because nobody really knows which ideology and which platform.
Maybe 10 years is enough.
Maybe 10 years will be enough. We'll see which platform wins. But for entrepreneurship, I think China is a great market. Consumers also, the GDP and the average income, household income now, $10,000, $12,000 is the average income now, and it was $1,000 maybe 10 years ago. So you have an emerging middle class, and they want
possibly.
You might call them here, they wouldn't be middle class, they'd be kind of lower middle class.
It's absolutely different compared with the class rating in China. I'm not sure I'm in which level, but actually China growing so fast.
It's growing fast, yeah. Okay, good luck with everything.
Okay, thank you.
Good luck with testing.
Much appreciate.
Yes, of course. We took a little detour there.
There you go.
We try to be fearless and. Okay. 12:15. Wrap it up. Yes. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Jason. Nick
Hi.
Hayes.
Hayes?
Nick Hayes. Yeah, I'm based in socialist France.
Which socialist country are you based in?
In Paris. France.
Magnifique. One of my favorite countries.
Really? You speak French?
Je parle un petit peu.
Ah, c'est bien, c'est bien. So I founded a company called As a Lead Software. We're in the B2B marketing space.
Okay.
We build software for account-based marketing.
Okay, for account-based marketing.
Yeah.
Great.
So we've started selling about 18 months ago. We've grown the company to about $1 million in ARR today.
Incredible.
Thank you.
In Paris.
In Paris, yeah.
Great.
Yeah, the French companies mainly buying from us. Also international companies, IBM, Cisco, those kind of companies are buying from us locally. So now we want to come to the US. And my question for you is East Coast or West Coast, New York or San Francisco? Where would you put an enterprise sales team if we were looking to expand in the US?
Great. So it's a great question. Where in the US should a European company put their enterprise sales? The flight to New York is going to be 6 hours. The flight here is going to be 12. So that's a big difference. That being said, you have incredible, tools like Skype and chat software, Yammer, Slack, HipChat. And so the world is much smaller because of these technologies, and they work. So perhaps the distance doesn't make as much of a difference today. So then I would base it on one of two things. One, you're the CEO founder, right?
Yes.
So one, where do you want to spend your time on a personal basis? Kind of matters, right? You want to enjoy where you're going to stay because you're going to be spending a lot of time here. But really, where are your customers and where do you need to raise money? So if the overwhelming majority of your customers are in New York, that's a good place to set up the sales office because they would meet face-to-face with people. That being said, New York is going to be 25% cheaper than here.
Cheaper than here?
Cheaper than here. Yeah, here is the cost of living is higher and salaries are much higher as a result. So New York is actually cheaper than San Francisco and Silicon Valley. And there's more talent. The talent here is probably better for enterprise software, but you're going to be in massive competition with Salesforce, Yammer, Microsoft. Everybody is competing for these executives. Whereas in New York, you have less competition. That being said, if you want to raise money and build $1 billion company, this is a pretty great place to do it. So raising money here is literally 500 times easier than New York.
500 times easier.
500 times easier here. New York is going to be 5,000 times easier than Paris to raise money, right? Raising money in Europe is hard. And the VCs there keep people on a very tight leash. They want to have a lot of controls. They give very low valuations. So I think if your goal is to raise money, then be here. If you want to be part of the world-class, Silicon Valley technology business, be here. If you're going to raise money, because you'll be present and you'll be able to meet with VCs all the time, have them by your office, and that means something. They'll feel like you're part of this community. If your sales is going to be primarily in New York and you have a lot of customers there,
Sure, 1 or 2 people, but how many people are in the company currently? 10, 20?
Today, 28 people.
28 people. So your sales office might have 5 people in it, you think? Remote sales office?
Exactly. We have 5 people in France, and we want to have 5 people in the US.
So that's usually what a satellite office would be. A lot of the top sales executives like to work from home. There's a lot of that going on. So what you might consider is having a small office somewhere with 2 or 3 people in it, and then your SDRs or salespeople looking across the country in different places: Utah, Texas, Chicago, Boston, and DC, places where Atlanta, you might be able to get somebody for a lot cheaper who wants to work from home, who has kids, and who prefers the lifestyle. And so that is something a lot of American companies are doing. They're putting their sales offices in Boulder, Colorado, Salt Lake City, Utah comes up a lot, Austin, Dallas. A lot of people are saying Silicon Valley is too constrained for people in the salary range of, let's say, $50,000 to $75,000 base pay of a sales executive. That may not be great here, and certainly customer support, which is $30,000 to $50,000, or SDRs, sales development reps, $30,000 to $50,000 all in commissions and everything. Those work better in Arizona, where people have rent of $600 or $700 or $800 a month, whereas rent here might be $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a month, more if you have a family. So I think you should think that through. Remote teams work really well. So a small office here with 2 or 3 people, and then let them hire remote people. Remote people just opens up a world of difference. And also, some of the top performers here in the United States will pick the flexibility and freedom over compensation. So they'll pick being able to drop their kids off at school, pick them up, have dinner with them, work for 2 hours at night, work for 4 hours in the morning, work for 3 hours in the afternoon. They would rather have that flexibility and to be able to work from home and get rid of 10 hours a week of commuting or 15 hours a week of commuting, and they will work for $20,000 less per year than people who have to drag their asses into an office and hate it. It's a big trend here. I wish you luck with it.
Thank you.
It sounds like a great business. And there's a great chicken restaurant by the Louvre called Poule au Pot.
Poule au Pot, yeah.
You know it,
yes,
Poule au Pot. Yeah, get the chicken with the morels. It's very good, in season. That's my favorite place in France. Poule au Pot, right? Am I got a Poule au Pot?
Poule au Pot.
Poule au Pot. Chicken in a pot.
Yeah.
Poule au Pot. They make chicken in a pot. It's a very rustic French dish. It's a pot like this with a whole chicken in it. And you go and you eat the whole chicken and they give you mustard.
Cast iron.
Yeah, beautiful. Hi, I'm Jason.
Tim Burke.
Nice to meet you. Okay, here we go.
This is Affinio. We help marketers basically better understand and relate to the people they're trying to reach.
Perfect.
So the dashboard you see in front of you actually is perfectly aligned with the Microsoft message today. So we analyzed over 360,000 followers on Microsoft. And what our algorithm does is basically identifies based on interests and passions of those individuals in the group, in the audience, breaks them in and segments them based on their passions. So essentially the visual down here is essentially the breakout of all that entire audience. To give you an understanding of sort of how different and how actually distributed those audiences look. When you start looking into the specifics of their interest patterns, let's say hip hop fans, you start to see a really distinct follower pattern slanted heavily towards music. You start jumping into Microsoft fans and it all of a sudden becomes everything sort of Microsoft and tech, all the way through to gaming. So you can start to see basically the brands that are relevant to them, the people that are relevant to them, and ultimately leveraging this, marketers are basically able to understand both the interests and passions of these different segments, is also able to jump in and look directly into sort of the content that's over-indexing and resonating with these people. So from a content strategy perspective, they can jump in, power use the tool to basically relate to and understand in depth what people are consuming, how they consume it, what channels and what influencers are basically meaningful to them.
This is a great idea.
Yeah.
I know this is a great idea because I invested in a company called Get Little Bird.
Yep.
Which does something extraordinarily similar, and they have a lot of SaaS customers.
Yeah, I know Patrick well.
Good.
So you have a question or you want feedback on this product?
Actually, I do have a question because we're sort of in the midst of growing. We've got 50 customers worldwide right now.
Great.
A lot.
What do they pay? $500 a month, $50 a month?
No, starts at $2,500 a month.
$2,500 a month.
Yep.
It's not cheap.
Not cheap, no.
$30,000 a year?
Yes.
$2,500 a month.
Yep. Yeah, with some of the media companies that we're working with, 10x that. So significant revenue.
How do they use it, and how often do they use it?
So for the most part, they basically are using it to understand sort of native advertising and the audience segmentation that they're actually powering. So they're using it in their sales cycle to basically build better content.
Great.
Yeah.
So they get insights for doing content marketing.
That's exactly right. You got it.
It might be worth $30,000 a year, or it might not be. That's what you're going to have. That's going to be one of the keys to this business, is making sure that they actually use the product. Because products like these, I find, are, you bring them into an organization, people love them. They wow people, the tag clouds, everything seems really interesting. Then they forget about the tool, and it's not part of their daily workflow. So that's going to be one of your big challenges, is to make it part of the daily workflow and something that's essential and that actually drives ROI. So I think that's my biggest piece of advice for you, but you have a question.
Yeah, no, I'd love to know, certainly as in the growth phase of a company, what mistakes or what have you seen work best when people are growing from, let's say, 10 to 100 people?
Sure.
Maintaining culture, which is such a critical thing to a small company.
It is. The number one piece of culture is winning. If you're winning, everybody thinks the culture's perfect. Right? They may be upset about, like, oh, there's not enough parking spots, or, somebody got rid of, like, the coconut water and they've got this other brand of coconut water, which isn't fresh pressed, and I like the other coconut water. So, like, when you hear people complaining about that kind of nonsense, you should be like, oh my God, thank God they're complaining about the parking and the coconut water, right? So those are the kind of problems that are not problems. So keep the company winning and the culture will be easy. Now, transparency, always good for culture. People want to know what's going on with the company. When you don't tell people what's going on, their minds wander to the darkest place, right? So if somebody doesn't call you and you try to call them and you don't know where they are, what does your mind do? Oh my God, something happened to them. You think about the worst case scenario. This is what happens as leaders. If you don't communicate proactively with people and say, this is why we're doing what we're doing, these are the next countries we're going to bring our software to, here's why we're bringing our software to those countries, then you know what happens? In their mind, they go, oh my God, something's wrong with the company. Or, oh my God, I'm going to get fired. Their minds just immediately go to the darkest places. And you as the leader go, why are you thinking that I'm going to lay you off? I think you're the greatest. And even if you tell people, I think you're the greatest, you're doing an amazing job, and then they don't have full information on the business and how it's doing, they probably just think you're lying. So you're like patting them on the head like, good puppy. So tell people the fundamentals of the business and have a plan and check in on that plan. So if you don't have regular check-ins and a regular process for people, employees giving feedback, and for you communicating with them, I think that communication is the issue. 100% of the time that somebody does a survey of employees and they say, what's wrong with the company? The number one response, almost universally, unless there's something really weird going on in the company, like an edge case, is communication. And in fact, the companies with the best communication, everybody who writes it on the cards or does a survey says communication in our company sucks. Like literally the companies with the best communication, that have the most open communication, they say communication is terrible. Somebody was doing something over here, in the Xbox group, and I didn't know about it in the Slack group, and the Skype people are doing this, and it overlaps with this, and it's like, okay, it's a big company. Everybody's allowed to talk to everybody. We have all these cross-functional groups, and even then they say it's communication. So you can never invest enough in transparency and communication when you're going from 10 to 100, because something happens at about 30 people for every founder. When you hit 30 people, you're going to walk into your office one day, and you're going to see somebody and say, hey, who are you here to meet with? Can I help you? And they're like, I've worked here for 3 months. And you're like, oh, you've worked here for 3 months. I'm Jason, I'm the CEO. I'm like, yeah, I know. And you're like, oh, okay, things have changed. So try to come up with efficient ways to meet with groups of people. So one little trick I had was I would have a birthday lunch when I had my last company, and I just told my chief of staff, there's 100 people at the company. That means every month 10 people have their birthday. Have a birthday lunch. I want to have lunch with anybody whose birthday was that month, one-on-one, not one-on-one, one-on-few. So some months it would be 5 people, some months it would be 10 people, and I take them out for lunch. And we just sit there and talk. But it was their chance, whether you were the receptionist or a sysadmin or a writer or a salesperson.
Cross-functional in the nature.
It wasn't based on anything but birthday. So it just became this like really intimate, and then sometimes it would just be 2 people or 3 people. And then I had another rule. If you leave the company and you don't hire your replacement, no party. No goodbye. You're dead to us. No reference. Don't ask anybody to do a reference. But, and I tell people this on the way in, if you hire and train your replacement, you will always have a golden reference, and we'll have a great sushi lunch for you on your final Friday, and everything will be hunky-dory. Just the rules of the road. I came up with because you know what my biggest pet peeve was? I hated when people left my companies. I felt like it was a dagger. It was like people saying to me, I was very immature when I was younger. I just was competitive. If you left the team, it was a vote of no confidence for me. And I took it very personal. And it's like, oh no, I have a better opportunity, or I don't want to be in software, I want to be in this. It didn't matter to me. I had a rage and fire inside of me that if you left, you were the enemy. It never ended well with me. People knew that. So then I was just like thinking about it, like I have to be more zen. I have to get this like anger out of my system. Like, why do I think this way? And it was just like I was kind of like a gladiator samurai the way I kind of grew up. And I said, I got to be a little more Jedi about this. How would the Jedi handle it? And, you know, it's like if you want to leave, you know, and you may get your hand cut off, I think you should finish your training. But, you know, if you want, you can do it. Yeah. So I basically just told people that. And now it's really interesting. In all my organizations, people just say like, hey, Jason, can I talk to you? And I'm like, you're thinking about leaving. What's your exit strategy? And they say, well, you know, as much time as you need. And I've written a job description and I'm trying to find a replacement. And I'm like, great, that sounds awesome. Wow. And it just has made everything easy. So you have to look at yourself. You seem like a very calm dude. Yeah. And you seem like you probably make the whole organization mellow and you let everybody be heard. Am I right?
Yeah, very much so.
Right.
Yeah.
So again, back to reading people. Like I can tell you're that type of leader. And that's great. That's a good strength to have. The thing you may want to make, people may sometimes think you're weak if you don't impose your will from time to time. Yep. So startups are not a democracy. They are, the best leaders are benevolent dictators. We're all going to have our say. We're all going to put the data and present it. I am going to ask you what your recommendation is. And then I will feel free to say, no, this is my company. Right. We're not going to become a consumer company. We are an enterprise company. That's a great idea. If somebody wants to go do a consumer version of this, great. You can do this for consumers and charge $10 a month. That's not what we do. Right. It could work, but I can tell you doing both will not work. So every month, somebody in your company comes to you and says, wait, you know, my friend really wants to use this for $25 a month. Yeah. And you're like, hey, dummy. If you give it for $25 a month to somebody, then they can't charge $2,500 a month. Exactly. We have to choose who this product is for, right? And don't call them dummy. That one, it's like Jason 1.0. I used to tell people, this is how insane I was. I used to tell people if I thought they were stupid. And then at some point, somebody who was a good mentor to me said, listen, if you hired a stupid person, you're an idiot. And if you let a stupid person work for you, you're even like stupider than them. And I was like, oh shit, he's right. So then after that point, I would just walk up and I would just say, Jackie and I have this conversation with Jackie, I don't think that this person is smart enough to work for us. And she goes, I'll take care of it. So this is like some serious like emperor to Darth Vader. I'm just like, Boba Fett, go get Han Solo. And then I just walk out. I don't need to be involved in how Han Solo is captured. I don't have to cut anybody's arms off. It's just done. Yes. Like, let's keep it less drama. This person is too stupid. Get them out of the organization. Anyway, it's a great business. I know the business well because of Get Little Bird. On a business side, don't give yourself any credit for sales. Right. Give yourself credit for engagement. Because people renewing this product is all that matters. Totally. Big companies have money, they have a social media department, they have a content department. When you come up for renewal, you'll probably get the second year. Even if they don't use it or whatever, But the third year is going to be the telling year because they're going to really start thinking about it. And you're going to want to raise prices and add features. You have to have engagement. So structure the commissions that you get a third of your commission on sale, a third at 6 months if they don't cancel, and a third at 12 months. And because I tell my sales executives, my partnership executives, we pay commissions when the money comes in and we deliver the product, not when you sell it, because there's always that chance of canceling and other stuff. So that the account executives are closer to reality of the business. And you can say it, I want you to understand the reality is engagement. And then you can tell them, if somebody uses the product, this amount, you will get a bonus of 25% on your commissions. So if people log in every week and use it, if they use it every week for more than an hour, you're going to get a $500 bonus. And if they do it for 5 days in a row, you're going to get a $1,000 bonus, whatever it is. But come up with engagement bonuses, not sales bonuses. Good luck with it.
Great idea. Thank you.
You're welcome. It's a great idea. It's not mine. I have to go. All right, I have to go to a meeting. It's a really important meeting. It's probably like $1 million deal. I'm going to be about 5 minutes late for it. More people want questions. All right, and we have to leave about 6 or 7 minutes for stage diving. Okay, this has been great. Thank you to Microsoft for setting it up. I hope it was valuable to all of you. Was it? Yeah. I hope I was candid. If you have any further questions for me, jason@launch.co. If you want to come to any of my events, email Jackie. We'll try to get you set up. We always give free tickets to folks. We don't try to make money off the events. Most importantly, if you want to join my incubator, we do what we just did here for 6 hours a week with 7 companies. And I buy 5% of your company, and then we go try to create another Thumbtack or Uber or Wealthfront. So if you want to work with me, this 7 to 15-minute microcosm turns into something really special with the incubator where we really get deep into businesses. And you can talk to Jackie about applying to the incubator. And no company's too big to be in the incubator. So even if you've raised money or whatever, and you can still, it's sort of like graduate school, like working on a PhD. All right, thank you.